sense of what is going on. We have public affairs analyst Dayo Lomuagu here. Dayo, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Always my pleasure.
Great.
Thank you.
And we have lawyer and public affairs analyst Olutumboso Shifowora. Bosun, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Pleasure.
Great. Right. Now, we have seen repeated attacks on INEC offices in parts of the southeast, police formations, not just in the southeast, but in other parts, a few other parts of the country. We've seen attack on the courts and so on. These are all institutions, one way or the other, that hold what we call our democracy and our country together. These are some of them. And when they constantly attack, I wonder what the agenda will be here. Although we are not in there, but we sit down to see the trend and analyze whatever is going on. Dayo, let me start with Dayo.
You see, clearly, talking about the agenda behind all of this, I think it's difficult to pin down. But I think ultimately is like an assault on the government, is to make of no effect whatever effort the government is trying to put in place in such a region, such that if they paralyze government institution, paralyze whatever is called government in that region, it's either you'll be forced to, to gain their attention somehow, I don't know, or even beyond that, I'm also looking at there could be different stakeholders at the end of the day. So it's something you need to critically analyze, look into before. But whatever happened, I think the attacks, no government will ultimately fold their arms and be looking at what is going on, because it's a direct assault on government. It's a direct assault on established institutions.
All right, Bosu, how troubling it is that when some of these things are happening, it happened 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's happening without, they have their way. They, burn down police stations. In some instances, they cut away the armory and they go away. How troubling is that some of these things are not prevented and they're happening from one city to another and repeatedly?
It's a troubling scenario that has gained traction across the nation. If you look at the aftermath of the NSAS, after the whole Lekki thing, you saw people were agitated, and the next thing they went on a destroying spree, and it was an horse versus them kind of mentality that they feel they're being oppressed by the government, by those in power, and then the best thing to do is to cut your nose by
to spite your face.
But it's an unfortunate situation on the part of those unleashing the mayhem. It's very unfortunate because you're fighting without direction. I have said this countless times everywhere I went, that I met two guys, one from the east, one from the west. And I asked, okay, this is your new nation that you're going into. What is it going to look like? They said, when we get there, we will find out how it is. I'm like, you're heading towards Libya. This was how they started. They didn't want Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Now now they long for Gaddafi. So who sets out without a direction? You have to know where you're going, because at the end of the day, the same fight you're fighting here is what you will fight when you get into the new nation. Because in fact, it will be worse.
It will be worse, of course.
Because there are no terms, there are no rules of engagement. Now, that's one side. The other side is the government. You have seen the trend. You have seen the pattern. Why the government is not taking serious effort at protecting these things still baffles me. Once people throw caution to the wind, anything can happen. And there's this mob mentality that you just come. This station is a victim of what happened. Of course. Now, and you saw the destruction. Look at how much destruction, and look at how much effort you're trying to come back to life. Yeah. Now, government is watching these people. I don't know, intelligence gathering in this country has gone south. Because you know, okay, now there's a riot coming up. You can see the agitation. There's tension in the land. The slightest provocation will warrant, you know, wanton destruction. So why don't you place security men at strategic points to protect these things? Because at the end of the day, if we destroy all the institutions, we will be the worst for it.
Yeah.
So that's
it's like taking us back to the state of nature, where life was really brutish and really sad. All right, now Dio, Nigeria, a lot of people have said we've never had it this bad when it comes to security. From their own analysis, from what we have heard, they're saying before you can prosper in economy, prosper in politics, prosper culturally and all of that, security has to be there first. You have to feel that you are safe, you are secure, then any other thing, from tourism and all of that, then all those things can sprout. So, having challenged this much in security that is leading to other things, they're saying we've never had it this bad. Where did we really get it wrong?
So I think, clearly we never had it really bad as it is today. And we're talking about security challenges. I mean, whether in the southeast, whether in the northeast, in the northwest, in the middle belt, everywhere in the country, even in the southwest.
Yeah.
So the whole country is plagued with, by insecurity now, and like never before. And but for me, you see, it's not something that happened just yesterday.
Overnight.
I mean, it's been there. We fought a civil war, you know, issues here and there, riot in Kano, here. You know, it's been there all along. But for me, to the extent that people have a right to self-determination, to the extent that people have a right to determine what they want, they don't want, I think the government over the years, and in particular this particular administration, played into the hand and fueled whatever we see today.
True.
You came in 2015, for example, and you told us you belong to everybody and to nobody or something like that. And people begin to watch. You see, it's in this same country that a President Yar'Adua stopped the agitation in the Niger Delta without shooting one bullet. And everybody laid their arms down. Yeah, you tell me their son was the vice president. Yes, I understand. But even at that, not one bullet was fired. And they laid their arms. Why? Because they saw the body language of the president, that he was sincere. The man told them, yeah, I'm here, and by coincidence and all that, not necessarily because I won this election, but let's work together in peace. So I think ignoring the signs all along, and you think at any moment you can crush them. You see, ultimately, when people begin to feel they are being pushed to the wall, regardless of whether whatever they're agitating for is right or wrong, that's a different thing. But when they begin to feel they are marginalized, I mean, they look at the position, the appointment, and it looks like it's going one way, and not even this way. You see, when they begin to feel that they don't belong anywhere, you cannot avoid. So when you make people to feel their life does not count, then they don't mind if they lose their life. Okay, in trying to defend their life.
As far as they're concerned, they don't have it, so exactly. They don't lose anything.
So I think somehow this government fueled whatever is happening now, although we have had a history of security issues, but it's never been this bad. And now we are so stretched that where were you were talking about policing or putting military or whatever, where would they get them? So you put military, some police in every government institution or establishment or something. It's almost difficult. So even you walking on the street, who is policing you? Who is watching you? You see broad daylight on your roads here. They break your vehicle. They catch whatever they want to cut away with, and nothing happens. I think it's really bad, and I guess somehow. I don't know, but the government need to arrest, not necessarily by brutal force, but somehow, maybe by dollar, maybe it's still going to work. But clearly, I think the government for whatever is going.
All right. But so one would say if this is going on and the government is saying we are on top of the issue, the government is saying we will deal with criminals, the government is saying we'll put an end to this, the government is saying we'll ensure this doesn't happen, the government is saying Nigeria has to remain one. Whatever it is, we're going towards a direction. We're going to deliver 100 million jobs and lift people out of poverty, whether people like it or they don't like it. All those promises are out there somehow. But practically, really, on the floor, on the streets, in the houses, and all of that. People are feeling this pinch here and there. So they feel that all the promises are not necessarily translating to, the hope that they expect. If this continues, especially with the extreme of burning police station, burning INEC offices and all of that, what kind of scenario can play out? What implications do these have?
The implication is there will be no country again.
Wow.
If I burn down my house, where will I come back to rest? And that's one. So it will be a case of Achebe's book, There Was a Country. We will cease to exist. That's just it. Because if you destroy your institutions, you are practically collapsing all the pillars that support your house. At the end of the day, you'll be destitute. There's nothing. And we've seen it. We saw what happened in Liberia. We saw how Rwanda panned out before they came to this. And all the signs that we are witnessing now were the things that happened in those places. Fine, you have different tribes with different, agendas and agitations, and they were not properly managed. I think that I was saying something earlier that beyond force, there are other ways of managing. At least we all have homes. There are times where you use the cane. There are times where you call your child and come. This is not how to do things. See, we have to protect this family name. This is how we go. Everything is not force. The president came out and said that those who didn't witness the war are the ones shouting. They didn't see the war. They didn't know how the thing panned out. But you don't have to face them with another war. You don't have to face them with force. You can call them. What happened to national reorientation? You could call them and tell them, there are people there, they have older ones who have seen these things. Nobody
wouldn't even want a repeat of it.
Want a repeat of this thing. So nobody wants war. The people shouting for war don't even know what war looks like. At the end of the day, in a war, there is no victor, there is no vanquish. Everybody, we go back to John Pepper Clark's the casualties. Everybody will become a casualty in the long run. But this is it. I think the government needs to sit down and first get its acts right. Force is not the only way. You don't, like Yoruba, they say that you don't use fire to quench fire. You have to look for something else. So if these people have a legitimate agitation, there are ways of, there are different ways of getting things done. Now, force is one of it, but force is not the only way. There are ways you can engage. There's a way they say you can tell someone go to hell and they will look forward to that trip. Now, so there are ways you engage people. There are rules of engagement. Everything is not force. Now, if we don't nip this thing in the bud, Rwanda didn't have it more than this. Liberia did not have it more than this. Now, but you see the implication is that all those countries are less than 10 million. While a country of 200 million, the whole of Africa will scatter. The West African sub-region will not contain us. Now, so you can say there's a plan B, there's a plan C. But you see, beyond that, we will disrupt a lot of things. It can scatter the world. It looks like we're making so much noise about it. But the fact is that if anything goes wrong with this country, if this is not managed, look at it. There's agitation in the Southwest, South now, they are coming up again. Northeast, Northwest, then I think we should sit down. It's not, the Senate is trying, they feel it's constitutional amendment, but there's this distrust now amongst people. Because
the constitutional review is, the exercise has been carried out before. It's not about
constitution. See, there's something they say in law. There are no bad laws. You only have bad enforcers. If they give us the best constitution today, if we have the same distrust, if we have the same attitude we have towards one another, the average Hausa man is afraid of the Igbo man, the Igbo is afraid of the Yoruba man is afraid of the South man. We didn't start like that. Once upon a time in this country, you leave your home. We look forward to, I'm Christian, I look forward to Muslim festivals because we'll go and eat meat, they'll give you money. It's the same country.
In fact, it was so beautiful in Maiduguri when I was schooling there. We at the end, towards the end of the Ramadan fast, we join, to fast with them as a way of solidarity, and then we break the fast.
In this same country.
So beautiful.
How did we get here? Now there's mutual suspicion. you just suspect the other person. Meanwhile, everybody just wants to go about his own life. It's the politicians that are dividing us. People, I have Yoruba friends who are married to Igbo people. So will I start suspecting my wife? In this same country. Now, the last time I was here, I said, see, let's stop comparing ourselves to other clients. That's what we used to do. Now, let's compare ourselves with where we were coming from. Once upon a time, it was not like that. So how did we get here? If we don't get our acts right, if war starts, nobody will win. Nobody will become the victor. Everything will burn, and we will be the worse for it. So we have to do everything to prevent this thing. Let's engage one another. It looks late, but one thing I'm sure, force is not the way out. There's a place for force, but there's a place for engagement. There's a place for dialogue. It is not constitutional amendment. Our problem is not the Constitution. Our problem is the distrust that has built up over time. So we need to sit down. How do we go back to where we were coming from? How do we eliminate this mutual suspicion? You suspect the other tribesman. We don't have problems with our tribe. NYSC is a pointer to that. I served in Sokoto. It was a peaceful place. I don't have a problem. But you see, these politicians are the ones creating the divide. And the earlier we face them, the better. They are the same ones who will shout that we need restructuring. They are the same set of people who are opposed to local government restructuring. They are the same set of people. The courts are still on strike. And what is the agitation? Give us our money, as the Constitution has said. Is that a problem with the Constitution? No. It's a problem with the enforcers. So that's where we are. So I think we need to look at the people who are ruling us, and we need to take a second look and address them that they are not acting in our best interest.
All right, Dio, before we go, if steps have to be taken now, where do you think we should start from in looking at all of these issues that are bedeviling Nigeria from all directions?
So for me, I think, like he mentioned, is about trust issue. I mean, the greater part of the challenge we have now is the trust issue.
That's building trust.
Now, so whatever the government can do to build trust, if their platform, if you need to call a dialogue, and I don't mean something that will last forever, if you need to call a dialogue and be as transparent as possible, I mean, for me, if there's a determination, if there's a will to make Nigeria work again, like he said, the politicians, they know where things have gone wrong and they know what to do. So if this government decides to, I mean, we're at a crossroad. So if they realize, like many of us realize, and really want to turn things around, you see, it's about dialogue. Somebody calling for Oduduwa Republic, somebody calling for Biafra Republic, you know, they are not. It's not about that itself. It's because they feel that they don't belong here. So until you begin to put, policies out, until you call for a national dialogue and let them have a feeling that they belong, and going forward, let them begin to see if there are things that need to be changed, restructuring, whatever you call it, is it a new constitution that the whole country think they want? Let them look at it critically. If that is the way to go, but to think it's going to be by force, especially if they see that you have not been that forceful with some other region when it was going on there, and now it's the turn of another and you're being this forceful.
Senator Sani was talking about the deodorant and the insecticide scenario. All right, we have to leave you here now. Thank you so much, Dayo Lomuagun, for coming on the program. Really appreciate you. Thank you. And Olutoboso Oshufora, thank you so much for coming.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Right.